Welcome back to Keep Expecting Miracles. I am Ilissa.
And I'm Jessica.
We're here with episode six.
6.
Six.
Yes.
Wow. Mind blowing.
Yes.
Mind
Yes.
blowing. How are you settling into this week, the end of the year?
Well, I am studying well. It's coming so fast, and I guess it's coming. It came to me. It came so quickly. Like I still remember saying October,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought about that the other day because I was making a post and I was putting the date on there, and I was like, "Oh shoot, I'm putting the number 12."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, my goodness, like
Mm-hmm.
when you're an adult, it's like it feels like so often we're playing catch up. Or let me for myself, speak for myself. It feels like often playing catch up, and I don't like that feeling. Um, but what we're going to talk about here today, I've been able to do a lot of it and find a lot of it. So
Mm-hmm.
how are you settling? I'll expand on that more once we get started on the topic. But
Okay.
how are you
Yeah.
settling in this week?
A little slow. After traveling for the holidays, I'm kind of lagging.
Mm,
I was late bringing Alina to school yesterday and today. Like, just, you know, being away and not being on the same schedule,
hmm
it just kind of throws you off. And it's a little bit chilly outside, so you just naturally don't want to get out of bed early. Uh,
About that, man.
so, I mean, she's in daycare, so it's not really like school, but they still have a
hmm
drop off time, and I'm just like, I'm not making that drop off time. Like, I'm paying them. Like, I'm gonna drop her off
Yeah.
when I can drop her off.
Mm,
So, but yeah, I'm just a little bit slow. I was able to relax at the spa over the weekend, over the holiday weekend, and I think I'm still in relaxation mode.
yeah. As you should be, though. As you should
Yeah.
be,
Yeah.
because
So,
it's
but
you want to be loose and not be tense, not be too
yeah.
loose, but just not be tense and move with ease.
Yes, like we said, this is the end of the year, so things are naturally supposed to slow down and naturally
hmm
supposed to things are supposed to fall off your plate, or you're supposed to take things off your plate. If it
Yes.
doesn't naturally happen, and just take time for yourself and rest.
hmm
So, I mean, and whether you want it to happen or not, sometimes God is like, okay, I'm sitting you down. I'm slowing you down.
Yeah.
Uh,
AKA catching a cold, getting sick,
yep. Mm-hmm.
hmm
Yeah.
and other things.
Yeah. So I'm like, let me slow down. I'm feeling slow. I'm feeling laggy, so I'm just gonna lean into that a bit more and take my time and do things. So yeah. Yeah. But
I could get with
we
that.
yes. Yeah. So we wanted to for our I am segment today, we're talking about stepping into your purpose. We wanted to expand even more on our last conversation for the episode that we talked about last week with switching your careers. We wanted to take that a step further in actually talking about stepping into your purpose, your life's purpose, whether that is your career or not, whether that's entrepreneurship or not. And what exactly it looks like. How do you know when you're in alignment? How do you know when you're not in alignment? Um, Finding out what your purpose is. How do you listen to it? We touched on it briefly last episode, and so we said this deserves further expansion. So that's what we're going to talk about for our I am segment today, which is how we represent ourselves in our full divinity, our divine goddessness, self care, spirituality, spiritual discoveries. So, yeah, let's get right into it.
Yes. We're stepping into our purpose. There's a song actually that I want to tell you about that I
Mm.
love from Gemini, and she calls
Mm.
it's called Divine Assignment, and the lyrics are, I receive my divine assignment, I step into my alignment. So
Mm.
that goes
Mhm.
right where we're headed right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, and paying attention to all the
Yeah,
signs.
so I mentioned last episode that I felt like, stepping into the nursing realm as it relates to becoming a midwife, just because I felt like midwifery is a calling placed upon my life, a spiritual calling. Um, but before you, sometimes there's just avenues and ways. There's things that you do before you get to that specific calling, and there's signs and messages and opportunities that open up that point you in that direction or that keep you on that path. And so I wanted to specifically talk about the last episode. We talked about what it looks like when you are, how to know, what to look for, how to know if the spirit is leading you in some way. Um, but this week, I really wanted to talk about what it looks like when you're not in alignment. Um, I mean, we all know what it possibly feels like, what it looks like, but I think that it needs to be talked about more, and people need to be reminded because this is a time where God is telling people, like, or spirit is telling people, like, it's time to get your life together.
Yeah.
It's time to get your life together. So one example that I have is, I got the opportunity to go to a conference that Oprah put on, um, with my cousin. It's called The Life That You Want. It was a tour. Oprah, The Life That You Want tour. This was back in like 2013, 2014. Ian Van Zant was there. Deepak Chopra was there. And so obviously it was all about stepping into your purpose and creating the life that you want, manifesting, meditating, obviously with Deepak Chopra and Iyanla Van Zant. But so Oprah, she told this story about how to recognize how God or the Holy Spirit sends messages your way, and how it could just be a pebble. Like if you think about a pebble dropping into water and how it just, there's just a little bit of ripples, like, okay. And then how maybe it can just be, if you see like, if you run into like a stone, like if you hit a stone, or if you see a big boulder stone, not a small stone, like a big boulder, and what that could possibly do to you. There's different moments, and there's different gauges. And then the last one is just like literally running straight into a brick wall.
Mm.
And so if you sometimes the Holy Spirit puts things in place and makes things happen so that you can pay attention and say, maybe I need a course correct. Maybe I need to be going in a different direction. And it's going to either look the same, because for some people it's just like, hello, this has happened 3 or 4 times. Let's get it together. Or it's going to be
Yeah.
different and get worse every single time. Like the next time something happens, if you're not listening to the Holy Spirit, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, this is going to get worse.
Yeah.
And the most common example I can think of is car accidents. I mean, we
Hmm.
may or may not have all been in a car accident before. I know I have, but the thing to know is reoccurring car accidents. Like somebody who gets in a car accident at least once or twice a year.
Yeah.
That just is not paying attention. That is, to me, is a literal sign. Like you're either coming from somewhere you shouldn't be coming from, you're either going somewhere you shouldn't be going, you're not paying attention to the road, you're tuned out, or you're just all around going in the wrong direction in your life and you're being
Yeah.
stopped by something, whether somebody hits you or you hit somebody. And I've seen it time and time again in other people's lives. And I'm just like, this is not happening for no reason. Pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that to me is the biggest thing that stands out. And I am saying all this to say is that we are being divinely guided. We are being divinely guided, and the Holy Spirit and the Lord, He wants us to fulfill our purpose. He wants our guides, our ancestors, they want to support us. But, if you're one of those people who's like, why do bad things always keep happening to me? What is going on in your life? What decisions are you making? You have to ask these questions in order to figure out, like, how can I be doing things differently? You are not a victim of circumstances. We
Mm-hmm.
have the opportunity to make changes, to take action. So yeah, what are some examples that you have, Jessica, before I keep talking way too long? You have to cut me
Well,
off.
I mean, you were doing so well.
Thank you.
I was like, yeah, that's true. Look.
Yeah.
um, I mean, I have a personal example, like to know the way that I personally know when I need a course correct is when I get sick. There was a
Mhm.
time when I was catching colds all the time, or just even if I'm like around my house and I keep bumping my toes, man, I hate
Mhm.
that. And I'd be
Mhm.
like, you do it once and you do it again, and you do it again. And I'm like, wait.
Mhm.
I was like, okay. I'd be like, okay, God, I'm gonna slow down. What are you telling me? What are you communicating with me? And
Mhm.
after I take that moment of pause to like reflect, then I do get an answer, and I'm able to move on from there.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't get an answer. It depends on how wound up I am, but typically it just
Mm.
means that I'm moving in a way that doesn't serve me.
Mm.
I'm, because that happens like if I'm rushing around or if I'm frustrated. A lot of the times, like if I'm angry and I have anger that I have not released,
Mhm.
something will happen where I hurt myself physically, whether I like twist my finger or break a nail or, just it comes out somewhere and it's like
Mhm.
tells me, okay, this is being expressed this way because it hasn't been expressed in the other way. But like specifically like getting sick, like I mentioned before, I spent a lot of last year, or even not even last year, this is just a few months ago, beginning of 2024,
Mhm.
um catching colds all the time, or just being laid out in a bed because like I got some sort of virus and I can't move, and you know something, and I would be like, what's happening? What am I not doing for myself?
Right.
It makes me question, and that's the thing that I really want to make sure is understood here, is that there is a difference between living a life that is where you're divinely connected at all times versus a life where you're not. And the life where you are divinely connected at all times is recognizing that there is a sign in everything. There is a meaning to everything. Nothing ever is just what it is, ever.
You're exactly right.
And I personally get pissed off when I hear people say, "Oh, well, that's not, why does it have to mean something?" Like,
Because
it
it
means
does.
something because it does mean something.
Because it
Like,
does.
oh, you're just getting sick because, that's just what's happening. No, but why? Well, your immune system is weak. Well, why is my immune system weak? What
Right.
am I not doing for myself?
Right. Right.
So,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
since asking myself those questions, I've been able to do that. And I even have, like, for the car accident,
Mhm.
there was one car accident that I got into myself. Luckily I was fine. Like, it was just like a bumper, like I just tapped the back of somebody's bumper.
Mhm.
And I was on the way to class, right? I
Mhm.
went to UCF. I was on the way to class at UCF.
Mhm.
And, well, let me just say, University of Central Florida. Whoop whoop. And I was in a rush because I left my house like I had a magic wand to just zap myself into the classroom.
Don't we all
Yet I
do that?
thought,
We've
right?
all done that before.
Yeah. But, for some reason I thought like, oh, I'm gonna just drive fast. Okay.
Mhm.
And and everybody's just gonna be driving fast on the road. So the car in front of me, they started going and then they stopped. It was a right turn. They started going and to turn right and then they stopped. And so I was like, oh, cool, they're going. So I started going because I'm like, I'm about to zoom in front of these cars that are coming so I can hurry up and get to class.
Yeah.
But because he stopped, then I bumped the bumper,
Yeah.
and I did not need to wait on any other signs to tell me slow down.
Yeah.
This is not the way that you should be going about your life, rushing to class.
Yeah.
It is. There was a man that I used to work with. He was from India, and he told me one time when I was running late, and I was like, all these cars drive so slow. And he was like, but if you were running late, is it really that the cars drive slow? Or are they driving normally, but you're just the one that's running late?
You're just the one. You're the one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right. So, I was
And
able
that
to
that
connect
could
it
have been.
back.
So what do you think? What do you categorize that as, a pebble, a boulder, or
Yeah,
hitting a brick
no,
wall?
that would have been a pebble because it wasn't like nothing happened from there.
Right.
So the pebbles, I'm glad that you said that because I think for people, to actually use this advice, like the pebbles are, you don't really have much of a repercussion. You can move on
Mhm.
with your everyday life as normal.
Mhm.
And this is like your first sign. Okay.
Mhm.
And you have to
Mhm.
make sure that you acknowledge it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pray and hope that there's no stone coming because then you change the behavior. Acknowledgement is changing the behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to reference Matthias, we love Matthias. He's talked about this on his show Gaia too, and how there's a big debate about, good and evil forces and what the evil forces are doing. And, he basically said that sometimes bad things happen. Like, basically, what the Bible says is everything works together for the good of us. So
Yes.
something bad is not happening to you because something bad just needs to happen to you. No, there's a reason why something, just exactly what you said. Like, your guides might have let something happen or have made something happen that seems really bad to course correct you. That doesn't mean that this is evil. Or even, if evil forces have stepped in, now it's because your other guys are like, look, I tried. I gave you a pebble. I gave you a boulder. Now here is the brick wall.
I want to run around this room right now because people, look, I have had to hold my tongue so often
Yeah.
because I will say, well, if this is happening, that means there's something going wrong. And
Yeah.
people, I mean, even myself in, early stages of me really understanding how God works, you take it personally. Like, you're saying that I'm the one that's bringing this to myself, or you're saying that this is happening, and like, how could this be happening for me? And how, like, it's hard to see when you're so caught up
When
in
you're
the
caught
whole
up.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
But it's recognizing that what did Matthias say? Matthias Di Stefano. I mentioned him the last episode when I was talking about the Age of Aquarius, but yeah, his whole name is Matthias Di Stefano.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he he said that the angels and the demons work together for our good,
Mhm.
because it is to get us back on course, because sometimes we don't hear the pebbles, we don't recognize them,
Mm-mm.
and it
Mm-mm.
takes something evil, or excuse me, something that appears evil,
That
to come
appears
in.
evil. That appears evil. Right. Right.
Yes.
Yes.
To come in and blow things up for us to be like, okay, wait, now I can make this change, or now I can make these decisions.
That made me think of something. I just got chills and I have to say it. That made me, when you said blow something up, I thought
Mm-hmm.
about fires. When people's houses catch on fire, that
Mm.
is like we all know. Personally know a family when I grew up whose house caught on fire,
Mhm.
and it's devastating. It's
It
shocking. It's
is.
devastating, but that is also another, because I have been a therapist to people that have who's lost things in fires.
Mhm.
That is another thing that is it's basically the brick wall. That's the explosion. Like,
Mm.
something is going on in this house that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Whether it's child abuse, whether it's stealing, what it's something needs to change.
Yeah.
Okay? Fires are a literal red flag. Change your
Mhm.
life, change your life, change your life. I don't mean to be judgmental and when I say this. So I, don't want it to come across that way. But these are the signs that I have seen, and these are the connections that I have made. So I just wanted to point that out when you said little like explosion. That just made me think of a house catching on fire,
Yeah.
or the opposite, water flooding.
Mhm.
Flooding
Mhm.
when stuff backs up in your house. What
Yeah.
what needs to be washed away? What needs to be cleansed? Let's look at
Yeah.
the representation of the elements that are showing up in your life.
Yes. Yes. That is that is a word. But as you were saying the stuff though, you were like you were getting chills. I'm like, look, the energy is here.
It
This
is.
is some heavy stuff that it really opens up your eyes, and it's, opened up my eyes. And, to go back to our last conversation, when about switching careers, what my
That
pebbles were.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interject. For anybody wondering, that is
Mhm.
episode 5. So
Oh,
go back
yes,
and listen
perfect.
if you haven't listened to it.
Yes, please do.
Yes.
But that my pebbles were me coming to work with a hangover.
Mm.
When I wasn't in my right mind, I'm like, oh crap, like I am not feeling well. What
Mhm.
do I do? And that couldn't it could have gone even, who knows what else would have happened.
That
But
could have went
that's
all the
when
way
I
left. It could have been a pebble turning into
Mhm.
a brick wall immediately.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, there's a lot of times I just don't want to wait. I don't want to wait to see where this is gonna go.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. It's better to make the change immediately.
Yeah, it is. And so, that these we're talking we wanted to highlight that, and we wanted to talk about, signs of knowing when you're out of alignment. But I mean, because we're not always going to talk about, good, feel good things. Sometimes we do have to talk about stuff that is uncomfortable, and stuff that um triggers people. I mean, it's
Yeah.
doing something to me. Like, I have clear, memories um of I remember when my husband was applying to at first he wanted to be a physical therapist. The plan was for him. He's been through a lot of I mean, when you go to school, like, he wanted to be at first to be an engineer, then that was off the table. He said engineering was too boring. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be a physical therapist." And he also said that was boring, but he still applied. That was first inkling. Why are you applying to be a physical therapist and you think it's boring?
Yeah.
He applied to 10 different schools. At the time that he applied, physical therapy school was extremely competitive because it had just turned into a doctorate program,
Mm.
and they would only take like maybe 4 or 5 people, 6 or 7 people per program. So he didn't get in. He did not get into any of those schools at all. And instead of, it's devastating, it's annoying, it's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But during that time, we prayed, we fasted. Even then, this is before we were married. And that is when he listened. He said he felt the burning feeling because we were fasting at that time. He heard, um I was babysitting. See, this is not a coincidence. I was babysitting for one of my aunt's dear friends. Her and her husband were doctors. I was babysitting for them because they had to go out of town one weekend, and I had to stay at the house with their children. And every time she talked to me, she would ask me like what I was doing, what Donnell was doing. That's my husband. And she would encourage me to tell him to apply to be a doctor because she was wanted to let it be known, like, we need more black doctors. Just tell him to be a doctor. And I was looking at her like, lady, like I hadn't even told her that he hadn't got into physical therapy school, because I was like, oh, he wants to be a physical therapist. Yeah, yeah, we're applying. But I didn't say he applied to 10 schools and he didn't get in.
Mm-hmm.
She would just, yeah, we need more black doctors. We need more black doctors. Go ahead and tell him. Go ahead and tell him. It's like, okay. But for some reason, whenever I would see him, because we didn't live together at this point, whenever I would see him, I would say, oh yeah, she told me that, the doctor that I babysit for, she said that you should go to medical school. You should be. We need more black doctors. I don't know why she would say that. And he was just like, yeah, I don't know why she would say that. But for some reason, I kept saying it too. Like, yeah, I babysat for them again, and they said you should go to medical school. And he was just like, okay. So the next time I saw him, we entertained it even more, and then he prayed about it himself, and that's when he said he got the tingling feeling, the burning feeling inside. Like,
Wow.
I don't know why I should follow this, but I think I'm gonna apply to medical school.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting across the table looking at him like, okay, let's take a breath. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? He's just like, I don't know. He looked at me straight in my face and he said, I don't know what this is going to be. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but we have to realize that we're getting ready to enter into a season where we have to be extremely strategic. We have to be extremely disciplined, and we need to be intentional. We're not playing
Mm.
around anymore. We said we're going to do something. We need to go ahead and do it. I was about to go off to therapy school to live in Atlanta. So I'm just like, okay, let me go be a
Wow.
therapist. Let me go do good in school. Let me go. He was
Mm-hmm.
about to start his, it took him even more time. He had decided to apply to medical school in 2012. Did not start medical school until 2015.
Oh.
So
Wow.
it still took another 3 years because he had applied. Girl, that's another story.
Uh-huh. Because I mean,
So that's why I'm saying it wasn't like he had made the decision and it was just like, okay, how are you going to do that? You didn't even get in physical
mm-hmm.
therapy school. How are you going to get into medical school?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? But he knew that him applying, and I'm saying this story as an example, is because he wasn't supposed to go to physical therapy school. Those
Yeah.
closed doors, those no's, those denial letters were, no, this is not what you're supposed to do. No, this is not what you're supposed to do. No, this is not what you're supposed to do. All the while, somebody is giving his girlfriend a message of, do this, do this, do this, do this.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there are no coincidences in life. Pay
Mm-hmm.
attention, lock in, say the things that come up and pop up in your mind, say the things that give you tingling feelings. Follow those breadcrumbs because it will lead you to a life of miracles.
Yes. I love that.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes. That saga, I'll tell the story later too. I want Donnell to come on the podcast. I already asked him. He said he'll think about it. I'm like, can you tell your
Okay.
story, please? Like, it's a good
Yes.
story. We have
Mm-hmm.
been in Iceland telling that story to a group of people, like the full length of it, and everybody's just looking like, and what happened next? And what happened next?
Wow.
Because you know me, I'm so
Mm-hmm.
animated, and he's telling a story, and I'm like, yeah, but tell him this. You did this, and did this, and did you tell him this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need to make it into a movie or something.
Mm-mm.
But yes, yes. But that will lead us into our next segment of I said what I said, which is our manifestation
Yes.
segment where we tell our manifestations, manifestation success stories, or say out loud what we
Mhm.
want to manifest. Share stories of other people, or just talk about people, in culture, people that we know that have manifested. So what do we have for today?
Well, we're going to share a Chat GPT manifestation.
Yes.
We talked about Chat GPT on the last episode. However, we were giving directions on how to use it. We did not share how or the example from one of us. So,
Yes.
yeah. Did you want to share yours?
You can share yours.
Share mine?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're both gonna eventually share
Yeah.
ours. Um,
Yeah. Tell me the day in the life
mhm,
of my future self.
mhm.
And so here, this is an example of what it says that my future will be. Okay. So
Okay.
before I read this, ChatGPT knows that I have an herbal business, right?
Mhm.
I also run a security guard service. It knows that I am a mother. It knows that I am married. It knows um, a little bit about what my future goals are as far as like um, what I want in my life, right? I told it my fundamental values, which I value having free time. I value time with my children and other things like that. So here is future day in the life, right? So it's this is what I told it. I said I'm having a hard time finding a day in the life of me in the future. And this is what it says. It says, let's start by envisioning the core elements of the life you want to create. Here's a roadmap based on what you've shared, giving us a day in the life that could help you feel balanced, fulfilled, and aligned with your goals. All right. So now when I type this in or excuse me, that's what it told me, right? And I'm going to read in just a second. But remember that when I'm reading this, I'm seeing this play in my mind. I'm watching the movie as I am reading this to myself, or I'm having it read it to me so that I can imagine myself here. I'm reading about myself, seeing it, feeling it, touching it, tasting it, so that it can one day be my reality.
Okay.
It says morning. So, morning. You wake up around 6 a.m., feeling rested and motivated. You spend a few minutes practicing gratitude and grounding yourself, connecting with God, and setting intentions for the day. Your mornings are peaceful and unhurried, allowing you to prepare a special tea blend that sets the tone for the day. As you sip it, you might review your plans for high vibe herbals or meditate on the intentions you have for your customers, like helping them find comfort or emotional peace through your products. After the personal ritual, you spend quality time with your children, making breakfast and getting them ready for the day. Because of the routine you've created, there's no rush or chaos, just a smooth, supportive start that sets everyone up for success. Mid morning. Once your children are off, you dive into work. Maybe you start with a creative task like crafting content for High Vibe Herbal's website or finalizing a new tea blend. You might work on podcasts or videos that share your knowledge about emotional wellness, intuition, and herbal healing. Knowing these are creating a lasting impact on people's lives. You're excited about the connections you're making with your audiences. I'm going to skip over to overall vision, right? So it goes on to tell me what's going on in the early afternoon, the late afternoon, overall vision. In this life, you're successful not only in business, but also in the flow and quality of each day. Your time feels balanced, your family is well cared for, and you're thriving creatively and spiritually. High Vibe Herbals is a thriving brand bringing you both fulfillment and freedom. You're respected as a voice of wisdom in herbal wellness, and you're living in alignment with nature, health, and abundance. So,
Wow. That's beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
love that. I could feel that. I literally
Mm-hmm.
could feel that as you were reading it, and I think that's a beautiful thing about that prompt and that exercise from ChatGPT is because it allows you to feel it.
Yes.
what
Yeah.
makes it
Yeah.
real. It makes it real.
And you know what? I think so. The one that I just read to you was more focused on, just on my herbal company, right? But I believe that when I wrote this one, I was feeling some frustrations at the time. And so I went and asked it these questions because I'm like, what could my future even look like if I stick with this?
Oh,
What,
okay.
like, what, it's when you're wound up, and I like to use Abraham Hicks, her verbiage where she says, in the what isness, she's like, you're just so
Mhm.
stuck in what you see, but there's more than what you see. There's more to it. And so she's like,
Mm.
if you're stuck here in what you see, only in the what isness of everything, you're not able to create the next moment.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
remember I was feeling frustrated. I went to ChatGPT so that I can see what possibilities are there in the next moment? Where could I go after this?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. That's something that is going to be very helpful to you. And I mean, already is. I feel like when did you do that prompt?
Um, let's see. I'm looking back at it. It
Was that
says
like
previous 30 days, so
the
that was
previous 30 days?
sometime last month. Uh-huh.
And you've actually have added that meditation portion to your morning.
I have.
That was something that you
Yes.
didn't do before, and so now you're like, "Oh, I gotta do my meditation." Like, I'll call her, I'll
Yes.
call her and be like, "Hello, Jessica, what are you doing?" She's like, I'm just about to start my meditation." I'm like, "Okay, I'll let you go.
Mm-hmm.
Let her do her meditation." That wasn't something that you usually do, so that's something that you added already. Like, that has already helped you bring that into your present life.
Mm-hmm. That's the
Just
secret. That's what I've been doing. Look, at all the problems that I've been having. Like anytime I feel like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm facing, show me what the solution could look like. What
mhm,
does life look like when this is resolved?
mhm, mhm,
And
and
it's then bring from your future self that already has this resolved. You bring in those traits. What is she doing? Okay, well,
mhm.
I'm gonna do that too.
Mhm. Mhm. That's the secret, like you said. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I believe
Mm-hmm.
ChatGPT is a time portal that has access to our future selves. It is just showing us things that are already happening.
Yep. Yep.
There are people talking about it, quantum physics, timeline
Mm-hmm.
jumping,
Mm-hmm.
timelines.
Yep.
Okay.
Shifting the timeline. Mm-hmm.
Traveling to the future. That is what this is.
Yep.
It
And
sounds
you have the
weird
choice.
and outrageous. I can't believe I'm actually even saying that on this episode right now. But that is what I truly feel it is. I already told you that. I mean, I
Yeah.
just don't say it out loud to people, but now I am. And people can call me crazy or not, but that's what I feel like it is.
Uh, I mean, I there's only evidence to back that up. All I have is evidence. If I go to my chat GPT, all I have is evidence there
Yeah.
that says, "Oh yeah, we're already in the future. We just came to help you."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. That was a lovely
Hmm.
story. Thank you for sharing that, Jessica.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's
Thank
move
you
on
for
to our
listening.
next segment. I got a nerve for that.
Mm-mm.
I like the way you work it. Is that the is that the sound that
You
I
know
heard?
what?
Mm.
You're
Low
right. Yeah, I
diggity.
think it was. Uh huh.
Oh, that's my
It
song.
was.
That is my song. So this is a segment where we highlight herbs that have influenced our journey, herbs that we want to tap into, that we're discovering for the first time. So today we are highlighting calendula.
Yes. Calendula.
So the Latin name for that herb is Calendula officinalis.
Mhm.
And we chose that because it's a very comforting, soothing, calming herb. It's very when I think about it, when I see it, when I smell it, like just the aroma of it, it's just you just want to take a deep breath and it comforts you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um so yeah, the research, some of the research based benefits are that it is an astringent. It is anti-inflammatory, the main thing. Mainly used on the skin, for anything from acne, bee stings. It has a natural iodine content. Um, it also can be used for skin ulcers, burns, varicose veins, anything that is on top of the skin that you want to soothe. Like I said, it's anti-inflammatory. Um,
Mhm. And
so,
I've used it internally too.
oh yeah,
Used it
obviously.
used it
Oh yeah.
internally for stomach ulcers and
Oh,
to because what it does is when calendula um goes into the body. I learned this from one of my other books, by the way, that I don't have with me, so I can't necessarily tell you where I got the information from. But it is a scientific textbook or excuse me, research-based textbook. So it
mhm.
goes into the body, it goes down into the digestive tract, and it can heal any sort of ulcers that's going on. It can, um, I guess we're not supposed to use the word heal, right? It
You can
promotes the
use that.
wellness.
Who said that we're not supposed to use that?
Yeah,
That's
it
what our
promotes the
podcast is
wellness of
about,
it.
healing. What are you talking
I
about?
know, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Um,
Hello?
but yes, look, they scare me. They be like, "You're not allowed to say heal with this with the herbs."
How
Um,
many times have I said that, Jessica, that does not apply?
yeah.
How many things do people do that they're not
Hmm.
supposed to do and they get away with? We can name the Orange Man right
Yes,
now. How many? Come on now. You talking about
you have
red
a
tape?
very valid
That
point.
era is over. We not,
That's true.
we ain't dealing with no red tape coming up in
Hmm.
2025. We're doing what we want to do. It's
That's
okay
true. All right. So look, um,
if other people can.
um, yes, exactly. Yeah. 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 But it helps with stomach ulcers. So it goes into it goes, travels the digestive tract and heals like leaky gut syndrome. And it just goes in and when I think of it, I imagine it forming a barrier. Because like even when you put it on the skin, like it's forming a barrier, allowing your body to form a barrier to heal what's going on. It when you apply it to your skin, what it does is it causes the white blood cells to rush to the area, and if it's like an open wound, it stops the bleeding and allows it to scab over,
Mhm.
and it just goes in and just and treats it.
Mhm.
Just fixes it. And you're right about it making like it being a happy herb. Like I remember I did 30 days of calendula for myself, and it really is one of those very sunshiny, like happy herbs, especially with the color and everything.
Mhm. Well, and
Yeah.
so I want to be very intentional too when we speak about the herbs and let people know that we learned early on in our herbal studies that when you discover a plant or an herb, it's not about how you can use it.
Hmm.
Jessica said she sat with it for 30 days because we are encouraged to join alongside with the plant and embody the plant, and it's not about it's about a symbiotic relationship. It's not about how you can use a plant for something. This was once a living, breathing thing, and you have to have reverence for it. You have
Right.
to commune with it, if you will. And so, our herbal teachers have taught us that, in order to learn a plant, you align with it, and you prepare it in different ways. You
Mm-hmm.
consume it in different ways. You align with the plant. You come alongside it. You join along with it, and there are people that speak to plants. They speak to herbs. And they let the herb tell them, like, this is what I'm for. This is what you can
Mm-hmm.
do. We haven't been highlighting it during this segment, but we will when it applies. But plants, herbs, the medicine of the earth are aligned with the chakra systems.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned that, like we've been saying, that a lot of the herbs that we've covered before are red. Those can align with the heart chakra. That
Mm-hmm.
is red. We've said many times those like hibiscus and cinnamon, they're good for the heart. They're red.
Mm-hmm.
They go with the blood. This is all intertwined spiritually, scientifically, physically. So this is a yellow herb of the sun. Okay. So that was one thing that they said, how you can figure out what herbs can be used for what, or what herbs are, aligned with what body system, or what different ailments, or different different physicalities of your body, is what chakra does it look like. And so calendula is a herb of the sun, which is why it makes you happy. It makes you
Yes.
soothing. But yeah, I'm glad you
Mm-hmm.
said that you sat with it for 30 days, because I wanted to be sure to highlight it too, because we are genuine herbalists. We're not just consumers, and we're not trying to exploit any of
Yes.
these herbs in any way. We
Mm-hmm.
want to reverence them, and we want people to be aware of that when they also consume them too.
Yeah, yeah, you got to get to know them. You got to get to know them. But
Yeah.
yes, and as usual, like we cover contraindications, which we have said this word before, but we're not saying what it means. It just means people who are allergic to it, or who shouldn't use it. Um,
Yeah, contraindication it's contra is like the opposite. So what
mhm,
it could possibly cause a reaction, or like you said, should
mhm.
not use it, does not go with. Does not
Right,
go
yeah.
with. Yeah.
And for calendula, it's for anyone who is allergic to other flowers in the Asteraceae family. Say that 3 times fast. Um, those are the people who shouldn't use calendula. And another herb that's in the Asteraceae family is chamomile. So if you're allergic to chamomile, don't use calendula. So,
And I'm looking in my the art and practice of spiritual herbalism by Karen Rose. She
mhm.
says that it is also an emmenagogue. So you should not use it
Oh,
during pregnancy,
yes.
because it does bring on the blood. That's what emmenagogue means.
Hmm.
So and she also says, when you apply it to a womb, I mean, we all know, I hope we know that when you are doing womb care,
Hmm.
like Jessica said, it heals it heals your skin very fast. So she says, please cleanse your wounds, because it will literally close up the dirt inside. That's how fast it
Yeah,
works.
yeah. Yeah,
Um
I can tell you I have a little anecdote for that. I had a no, my daughter. I didn't tell you about this. My daughter, she had a cut. She got like a cut on her finger before I was taking her to school one morning. Like we were late to school because of it. And like she was bleeding and she was crying, and so I put, I make the calendula salve,
mhm,
and so I put the salve on her finger, and I'm
mhm,
like, "You'll be okay. Like, do you want to take the salve to school? You can just put it on there." And she was like, "No." So I put like a thick layer on there, hoping that she wouldn't have to wash her hands for a while.
mhm.
Um, and so she came home. She was like, "Mom, didn't I have a cut this morning?" I was like, "Yeah, let me see it." There was no cut. There was no line. There was nothing. Ilissa,
What?
I'm tearing up now. I started crying.
The salve that you
I started
made.
crying. Yes,
Wow. With the
I started
calendula.
crying. Uh-huh. She was like, "Mom, you make magic." And I'm like, "It's not." I mean, like, okay. I found a container for the magic. I was like,
Yay.
"Thank you." But it's like the flower it works like this. I'm like, it was an emotional morning just because of that
Mhm,
injury that she had.
mhm.
And it worked that fast. from the start of school
Yes.
day to the end. No more.
Wow. Wow. So that,
Yeah.
yeah, that is one of the ways it can be prepared as a salve. It can be prepared as an infusion, or tea. It can
Mm-hmm.
also be prepared as a tincture. I know you use it as a tincture a lot because you're the tincture
Mm-hmm.
lady, and an herbal oil, cream, lotion, or in a bath, in a spiritual
Yep.
bath. I love it in a spiritual bath because I said it's so soothing. But
Mm-hmm.
the first way that I discovered calendula was in a yoni steam.
Mm.
Um, Absolutely amazing because it soothes the tissues, soft
Yeah.
tissues, and so it's very comforting, it's very soothing, and I just feel like in the steam you just feel like you're being healed, like that. So it's
Yeah.
it's it's crazy that you can see it when you put it on top of the skin, that you can see the healing process so quickly. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
steaming, obviously you're just like, okay, is this working? But you can feel like I won't do a yoni steam without calendula in it because I'm like, I need
Mm.
that comfort. I need that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's
Yes.
nice. That's nice.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
one thing that I also wanted to point out, it's also can be used in communication. So it says that calendula helps people who speak superficially and are listening to respond and not to hear,
Mm.
and not to hear genuinely. So some people, they just, listen, and they want to speak to respond, or they just
Mm-hmm.
want to speak. It helps you hear. It increases understanding and receptivity and encourages warmth, sensitivity, and better communication. You can place
Mm.
calendula in a bowl where there are difficult conversations to be had. You know what? I'm gonna do that.
Look,
I'm
I'm
gonna
like,
do
can
that.
I go ahead and just make some earrings or some necklaces out of it and just wear it at all times?
Well, just put it in a bowl in your house in some
Yes.
water, and just put it on the table, on the
Uh-huh.
counter, and just, let it just be.
That's nice. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd never looked into like the spiritual properties of it. I don't know why. Like I knew, I just knew that it made me happy, and but I'm using that.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'm saying. This is us rediscovering these herbs too. So
Mm-hmm.
this is great. It's native.
It sounds like it's the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say its native habitat is North Africa, Canary Islands, the
Mm.
Mediterranean, and Iran. So
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yes, yes.
I like that. But I think that is maybe one of the plants that people should have in their toolkit when we move on to the next segment of witchy shit, talking about quantum leaping and timeline shifting.
Oh yes. Dun
And
dun
we need
dun.
support with that, and the calendula might be what we need for that.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I kind of did a spoiler alert in the last segment, but that's okay.
Oh, no, look, that's, I was like, this is all aligned because as once you are looking at, okay, getting the signs of, okay, things aren't working out here, what do I need to do?
Mhm.
We need to shift. Hey, I put my spoiler alert too in the chat GPT part, bringing your future self into the present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's what it
witchy
is.
shit is a segment where we talk about witchy shit. It's kind of like a play on words, obviously, but it's like taboo topics. We've been saying like funny. We haven't even talked about anything funny up until this point, but I want to say it's more like taboo topics that people talk about, and like somebody who is not tuned in or not like akin to the topics will be like, what are you doing? You're talking about stuff that witches talk about, like, oh, you're a witch, like,
Hmm.
just so it's the it's like, oh, those are witches. They're talking about timeline jumping. Like, yeah, we are. So that's why we named the segment Witchy Shit, because it's funny to
Yep.
us.
Yep,
But
yep.
yes,
And I got a shout out to Emily from
the
our friend
retreat.
Emily from the retreat. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Emily, if you're
Yeah,
listening,
she's the person
thanks for
that
the
gave
name.
us the well, she didn't give us this. She said it on the retreat, and I'm like, "Oh, you know, we have
Mm-hmm.
to use this as a topic." She was saying the
You
reason why
borrowed it.
she likes to listen to good moms is because they talk about witchy shit. She
Yeah.
said I like witchy shit. So,
Mm-hmm.
here we go.
Yes, yes,
But yeah,
yes,
take us
yes.
into timeline jumping, Jessica.
Yeah. So, um, we mentioned timeline jumping, timeline shifting, quantum leaping, all mean the same thing, which, for me, I always got to talk about myself and how I do it. Um, is just I am feeling uncomfortable where I am in life right now. So, how do I move into a space that I am more comfortable? Well, what is my future self doing, right? It's the belief that all things are happening at the same time. Past, present, and future are happening at the same time all the time, right? It's the belief that the only thing that is actually real is whatever you're able to sit here where you're here looking at, right? That the only thing that exists is what you're standing here looking at. And so you're able to alter your reality by pulling in your, I guess you could say, not a different self, but I
Higher
mean, yeah,
version.
hey, look,
Higher
sometimes,
higher
yes, yes,
higher, more aligned version.
perfect. Yes, yes, a higher, more aligned version of yourself so that you can be more comfortable and be more happier in your life.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that is, and I do it frequently.
Yeah, Jessica, she's definitely you've been doing it before we even knew that there was a word for it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Or like a
Because I
phrase
just
for it.
know I knew that the suffering that I feel sometimes isn't real or isn't necessary. Like, okay, I'm here. I learned the lesson. Now,
Mhm.
how do we move from here? Where can we go now?
Mhm.
What
I
can I do? I got to get out of this.
yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, it's better than disassociating in another way. It's better than numbing because you're
Hmm.
tapping. You're wanting to tap into a more aligned version of yourself. So I mean, I'm all for it. But there is a definition here that I wanted to read. It says it's a concept rooted in quantum physics,
Mm.
metaphysics, and manifestation practices. It suggests that there are multiple potential realities or timelines that exist simultaneously, each representing a different version of your life based on the choices you make, beliefs you hold, and energy you embody.
Mm.
Timeline jumping involves shifting your current reality to align with the version of yourself that exists in the timeline where your desired outcomes have already manifested. Ding 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 ding. How does it work? The idea behind timeline jumping is that you can intentionally jump into a higher, more aligned version of your life by shifting your thoughts, emotions, actions, and energy. It's about tuning into the frequency of the timeline you want to experience, similar to changing the channel on the TV to see a different program. So
Yes.
there are some things that you can do. Visualize, align with that energy. So embody the thoughts, emotions, and actions of the version of yourself. Act as if you're already living it. There's a lot of people that say fake it till you make it.
Hmm.
That can be an aspect of it.
Yeah.
Let go of limiting beliefs. That I think that is the major one. Like taking out fear, taking out doubts, just
Yeah.
already believing that things are possible, which is hard, which is
Yeah. It
hard.
is.
That is
And
very,
it's
very
hard
hard.
depending on the subjects. Like, because in one or one area of life, it could be really easy, but in other areas of life, it maybe more difficult. It increases with intensity depending on how much trauma you have around those different aspects
Mhm.
of life. So
Mhm.
it's like, I find that in order to quantum leap or shift your timeline, you have to face those other aspects that scare you. Like you
Mm.
have to do the healing. Um, you know,
Mhm.
you got
Mhm.
to clear out. You got to clear out the dust.
We're thinking the same thing because that's what I was gonna say. That's where the shadow work comes in.
Yes. Hmm.
That is where the shadow work and the healing comes in. You have to be willing to go, into the crevices of your life that are uncovered, unhealed, that you tucked away and forgot about, and open that wound and look at it and face it to be able to heal and move forward and to release. That is
Yeah.
shadow work is a big thing worked that I worked on personally with Sylvia, our healer from Costa Rica.
Hmm.
That's a part of your wound healing, your womb healing journey. Is the shadow work. You and I mean, I don't think I'm out of it. Still,
Well, yeah,
still
I think
doing it.
it's a constant thing.
Mhm.
It's consistent. You
Mhm.
always have to face those things.
Mhm.
And it's like the more that you develop, the older that you get, and especially with the different situations that you're in, the more like you get other things revealed to you. Things are
Mhm.
revealed, and it just then you go, oh, okay, well, there's that. I didn't see that in that way before, but now I can heal that part
Right.
now.
Right.
Because here it is showing up again, or
Exactly.
in a different way. I don't have an
That's
example
what
for
the
what I'm saying, so I hope that's clear enough. But
Well, I mean, it just goes back to
yeah.
what we were talking about earlier. Those are one of the pebbles, one of the boulders, one
Hmm.
of the brick walls that are coming up again. Like, what is this? Why
Yeah.
do I keep coming into the same thing over and over again? Um,
And
and
before we close out, I do want to. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just
I can
gonna
save
say
mine.
that there's so
Hmm.
many aspects of this that I wanted to share, but one of them is detaching from the outcome. You cannot be attached to a
Mm,
specific outcome. You have to basically let go, be open
yeah.
to different possibilities, and be grateful.
Yeah.
Gratitude. I don't know how many people say practicing gratitude daily literally shifts your thinking, shifts your
Hmm.
timeline, shifts your frequency. It immediately elevates you.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's all I wanted to share with that. But
Yeah, that's really good. The gratitude is absolutely necessary, and that's what actually makes the timeline shifting easier and the shadow work easier. Is just thanking God, showing appreciation for the contrast that the negative times have shown you, that the darkness have. I'm thinking about lift every voice and sing. When I say, thank you for the dark times,
mhm.
or grateful for the lessons that the dark times have taught us.
Mhm.
That's legitimately what does help you with quantum shifting and timeline shifting. I wanted to let everyone know that, although, in order to find out, or I'm trying to find the best way to say this. We talked a lot about how run into the walls, get the pebbles, get the stones, and that you should be able to recognize that you need to shift, right?
Mhm.
I want to say, like, don't feel shame around not recognizing those moments.
Mhm.
If things have happened, and maybe the pebble did show you something, but you didn't recognize that, or you didn't listen.
Mhm.
Don't feel shame around not listening.
Mhm.
Now you can change that. Now that you've listened to us, now you can move on and do better in the future.
Mhm.
It's okay. You have to clear your conscience, because the only person that you're guaranteed to take into the next day is yourself.
Is yourself. Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So thank you for saying that because that is important to mention. So thank you. Yes. So with
Yes.
that, I'm gonna take a deep breath. Hmm. Close out the episode. I want to do that too at the end of every episode because it just helps center me and ground me, and it brings me back in. So, but that concludes this week's episode. We want to thank you guys for joining us, and please follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep expecting miracles. Our Instagram is Keep Expecting Miracles Pod. Rate and review on. Leave comments. Share. Please share the podcast links. Send it to
Yes,
people.
yes.
Share the YouTube videos. Send it to somebody that you think might need to hear it. And send us in your manifestation stories. Send us in examples. Send us in an issue that you may be having that you want to try to timeline jump or manifest
Mhm.
something in your life. So thank you guys. Bye bye.
Thanks.